Yeah, that looks good. Okay, Billy Maxwell. All right. In your childhood, how did your childhood shape your upbringing for better or for worse?
Well, excuse me, I had a very good upbringing. My mother was very, very patient with my brother and I, and we had a good life. We knew and to respect my mother. My dad was,
Yeah.
he was always there, but then again, he wasn't there. He wasn't a very good father. Basically, he had his own life, and my mother had hers. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But he provided. He never had a doubt about provision. He provided everything that we needed. There were times when, we not really necessarily suffered, but, there were times that I felt like that, we could have had more, but that was no big deal to me.
Yeah.
And so we grew up that way. For example, I never will forget that one time we had every year they have an annual, a yearbook, what they call it. And one time, my dad or my mother said something about, well, it's going to be tough this year. I don't know if we can buy a yearbook or not. And then, my dad chimed in and said, well, I'll get out and do something else we have to buy. He said, but, you need to get a yearbook. That's fine. And, he provided when he had, well, I can't say he provided when he had to, but, some of the frill things, like an automobile, he wasn't going to do that. But he provided for us, and my mother was a very, very good mother. She just, I never will forget being in my college graduation, no, high school graduation, and my mother was there, and my mother, I looked out there, and my mother didn't have me until she was 7. She had me when she was, I guess, 43 years old.
Oh wow.
Pretty darn. So
Wow.
and I had my brother when she was 45. But I remember looking out in the audience there, and all the parents would be there, and I look out there and I see my mother, and I said, "Man, my mother's old." But having said that, she was a great mother, and I don't think, with the exception of sometimes with my dad, I don't think there was a time that he and she didn't provide for me.
Mhm. That was really important to you, or that shaped you to make sure you worked
Oh
hard
yeah,
and
oh yeah. I knew.
provided.
I found out, early in life that a good father not only pay, say, shapes his kids, but he also, a good father, shows the kids that he cares about them. But there are a lot of there are a lot of fathers and mothers that have kids, and then what happens is they forget about the kids and go about their life, and really doesn't have a heck of a lot to do with them. But my mother was that way, wasn't that way, and then my dad, he was the essentials he gave them. So that was it, about it. We didn't suffer financially.
Yeah. So, when you were a teenager, what were things you were really into? Like, what did you really like to do as a teenager?
Of course, sports, I love baseball, track and field, and well, the essentials of sports. I played sports year round.
Yeah.
We had softball in the summer, and then, of course I never played that much baseball because of track and field, but we uh, we always had sports on our mind, and the baseball field, was 100 yards, maybe about 200 yards from where I lived, and we go over there and play all the time, and it was always somebody out there playing, and I think that had a lot to do with that. And then they come over there and say, "Well, let's go play." Okay, fine. And academics, I was pretty well blessed in that field. I remember, I graduated with I don't know, 389, something like that grade point average, and I made, I don't know, about 1200 on the AC, on the SAT. And, typical growing up kid. I mean,
Yeah.
never got in any trouble, which is important. I mean,
I don't know if I believe that.
Well, I did. I'm talking about, discipline problems is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, since you were into sports, did you know you wanted to do college sports, or did that just happen by?
I knew I was going to do something in sports in college.
Oh.
And as far as this is probably good jumping ahead, but jumping ahead a little bit, my mother always wanted me to be either a professional person, like a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. And I really wasn't that interested in that. I mean, I don't know, the coaching bug probably hit me my sophomore, junior year in college.
Okay.
And so I, finally one day I told my mother, I said, look, I want to be a teacher and a coach. And she didn't really say anything. I could tell she was disappointed, but the main thing for her was me to get a degree and to contribute to society. I mean, I think that was it. And we left it at that. I mean,
yeah.
I graduated from college, and I graduated from college. I had to go one extra summer school, and so I basically got out. And the time, because I knew that we didn't have a lot of money. And she was sending me to school and trying to send my brother to school who really didn't want to go. So, but that graduation was, I never forget her being so happy about that.
Okay. Yeah, we're still good. Okay. Yeah, that actually goes into my next question well. So, like in your 20s, and you kind of alluded to this, what became really important to you during this phase of your life that started to create a path for the rest of your life? It kind of sounded like coaching became...
Well, I had a really, 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 I said 2 or 3 times, good high school track coach. He was named Tommy Taylor. And, well, I don't know, we won the state championship, I don't know, 3 or 4 years in a row. And, he had a great influence on me. And he was really not much into society. I mean, it was just track and field. And he, like dating women, he didn't mind, but then again, he thought that track and field was more important than anything. So I grew up, under him with that in mind, and my respect for him. I mean, there was never any doubt that I was not going to be a track coach. I mean, that one there was a done deal. So anyhow, and I felt good because I had kids that I went to college with, and how they jumped 2 or 3 majors, jumped around 2 or 3 majors before they finally ever majored in something that they could do something in life with. And
yeah.
So I mean, a lot of people at 18 years old, I mean, they're pretty undecided about what they want to major. Are you like that? What do you want to major in?
I knew I wanted to do something with health or fitness.
Oh. No, that's good. But having said that, it's tough decision. Because you know as well as I do, whatever you decide then, you're going to have to do that the next 40 years, 50 years.
Did you think your coach that you were under, it was good that he thought track and field was life, or did you think that was overkill, that he's like, track and field is life?
I think it was overkill.
Really?
I mean, I had the same mentality, I think, as my high school coach. I mean, you saw me in action. I mean, track and field to me was not a one-time deal. I mean, you were out there every day, and you were working, and you had track and field in your mind all the time, and I think I got learned that from my high school coach,
What was his name?
Tommy Taylor.
Tommy Taylor. Okay.
He's dead now.
Yeah. So moving into more of your adult or your middle-aged life, where did you feel like you had the most amount of influence during this phase of your life, or what kind of influence did you have?
And what do you mean the most influence?
Well, I'm guessing you had the most influence as a coach. That's what you were doing during adult. So like, that's kind of the answer. You probably had the most influence as a coach. What kind of influence do you feel like you had?
Well, I bought and read a lot of books about track and field. In fact, that's one of the bad things now about moving is the fact that I've got a lot of books that probably I could sell and do something with, but I've been a bookworm all my life. But anyhow, I'd buy books and read them. Clyde Hart, Jim Bush, the track coach at Southern Cal, UCLA, and it just goes on and on and on. And I never forget one time they had a track meet on TV, and it was on the West Coast, and I stayed up that night till about 1 o'clock because they were on the West Coast, and I sat up that way like and to watch the track meets. That's how dedicated I was to track and field.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be a really good really good track and field coach. And so then what happened? I taught high school at Cairo High School. That's where I went to high school. I taught school there for 2 years, and then I decided, hey, I'm not going. In order to be a college track coach, you've got to go to college and basically work for nothing. You remember some of the coaches we had up there, but anyhow, I went to the University of Tennessee, and I worked. But I was working for $100 a month, and my wife was working, and it was tough. We didn't have a lot. I didn't have hardly any money, but I worked for money for about 5 or 6 years, and finally, one day there in the summer, he called into his office and said, "Look, you want to be a full-time track coach?" I said, "Sure." And I said, "How much you gonna make?" He said, "Well," we can raise you up to $2,000 or something like that a year. And I thought he'd given me the moon. But anyhow,
2,000 a year. 2,000 for the year.
Oh yeah, for the year, sure. And but I sacrificed in that way, and we struggle, and this, that, and the other. And I knew my mother didn't have much money left, so anyhow, I worked. I worked at some grocery store or something, making ends meet, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. We didn't have anything, but that was okay. My wife always helped. I had a tremendous amount, and we made ends meet. So then I made sacrifices to do that. I never will forget going to high school and college coaching clinics, and just remember the time that we would get in my car and I had one kid at the time and go drive for 8 or 10 hours and go to a clinic and then save money, go get in the car and drive back. So there was no frills in my coaching career, I can tell you that.
What type of influence do you hope you had on the athletes you coached?
Do I think I had?
Yeah, what type of influence do you feel like you had?
Well, I think the kids that I coached knew that I was out there, to coach. I wasn't much in the world of frills. If you're going to be out here, you better be out here and try to do the best you can. You remember we talked about being on time for practice, and it used to bother me a lot when kids would show even 2 or 3 minutes late. I mean, not that that was a sacrifice, and it probably was, might have been. You know, getting from one side of the campus to the other in, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. But it was, you know, studying. That was very important to me. And when you get out there, you know, working hard, you know, there were some kids. Seemed like to me in those days, the kids that really wanted to be good, this, that, and the other, they were also the kids that worked the hardest. I mean, I can remember, you know, hey,
Did you eat?
what?
Did you eat?
You been here yesterday?
I don't know, maybe.
I'm Pam.
I'm Levi.
Nice to meet you.
Levi, he was one of my kids in college.
You told me that yesterday.
Huh?
I'm glad he got to come see you.
I'm glad he is too. But anyhow,
You're saying being on time and being timely.
absolutely. And working hard, and I'm glad you brought that back. Also, the thing that really used to bother me a lot is the fact that some of the kids who had the most ability worked the least. I remember I was brought up to Christianity yesterday, and you know, there's some other kids like that, and you know, you think of what could this guy have been if he'd have worked hard, and really makes you mad. But then again, you know, it's not the end of the world. Because, you know, you read articles about, you know, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had tremendous amount of ability, but he probably could have been a lot better than he was, particularly in high school. And just nomenclature of life, you know. It seems to me the kids who have all the ability are the ones that work the least hard. Yeah, I think you agree with that.
Well, I have one more question and then a bonus question, okay? All right, so with so much of life in the rearview mirror, how do you want to live life now?
Live life right now.
Yeah, with so much life in the rearview mirror, how do you want to live life now?
Well, I know the end is here. I know that. And, you know, this deal with my health, and especially, you know, my wife passing away. I mean, I made an indelible mark on my life. You know, I had dreams of retiring. This is the part that really hurts. I had dreams of retiring and doing. My wife used to always talk to me about what we're going to do when we retire. You know, she'd say, well, you know, when we retire, we always wanted to go and visit the far west, you know, Oregon and places like that. And we did go to Europe a couple of times, but that was off the, you know, my wife went with me to Europe, and I had to buy her a ticket, which is okay, and she went over there with me. But the thing that bothered me so much is that we were about 2 years into retirement, and Kay passes away, and that really hurt. And then the second thing was the fact that here I am now. You know, I every day, you know, I get up and I go to that cafeteria. I don't go there every day, but anyhow, I go there and I see, you know, talking to some of those guys, and I said, well, how old are you? 100 years old. Oh. I say to myself, I won't make it to 100. And I might not, but I do know that I've had a great life. And, you know, being in the Track and Field Hall of Fame means that somebody must have thought well of me, and that's, but, you know, there's just so much more that, you know, you look at your life, and there's so much more that you feel like you could have and should have, you know, accomplished. And I think that all competitors, myself included, is that we've always said that we could have done more. And, you know, now here I sit here in a rehab home and you know, struggling, and, you know, it didn't, well, it turned out well, you know, but life could have been a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And then my bonus closer question, what would you like your family, friends, and future generations to know? It's pretty open-ended, but what would you like family, friends, and future generations to know?
Say
Or
that again.
what would you like family, friends, and future generations to know? Or what advice?
You know about me?
No, sure, about you or about
Well, I mean,
advice.
I think that people can always say that, Billy Maxwell was a guy that worked real hard in his profession. He loved athletes, loved to be a coach. I mean, there were times when, you get frustrated, and I never will forget, getting after some kids, and it, it hurt a little bit, but more, but I think they realized how dedicated I was to my sport. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, kids will, come back and say, well, Billy, he really, really was a good coach, which I probably was, because I studied it all the time. I mean, I worked and worked and worked in track and field. And, I mean, you remember me. Hell, I couldn't stand to get beat. It hurt me to get beat, but I knew good and well that I could have done better. And another thing that really bothers me is the fact that I always in coaching felt like that I could take average athletes and make them really good. I mean, that was what was known to me in the coaching profession. I never forget. Coach would come on and he said, laughingly, he said, "How you get these white boys wrong like that, And I just said to them, I said, you gotta want it. You gotta want to be good. You gotta want to be good. Oh, you remember that? I mean, you see some of these kids that, I mean, absolutely are stars, and they don't really want to be good. Being want to be good is to be, like, for example, being a distance runner. Getting your butt up in the morning by 6 o'clock and getting in, 3 or 4 or 5 miles on the trail, and just raw talent it's very important. It really is. But what is more important is to get out there and train and work hard. Now, I think that carries over in life, and I also think that it carries over in being a great track and field athlete. Was I great? No, I was a 6'3" high jumper in high school. I mean, in college, which is okay, but it was also something that I enjoyed doing. If I had life to do it with, I'd do the exact thing. And there's some things I would have done differently. It never really bothered me, but my kids never, excuse me, never cared that much about track and field. We lived close to a golf course, and those kids love golf, and they speak out there during the summer when it would be 7 or 8 o'clock at night. The sun was still on. You could still, and they go out there, sneak out there to the golf course and play golf, and which is probably illegal, but anyhow, they always wanted to be a golfer. So even today, our youngest kid, Billy, he plays probably at least 8 or 9 holes every day of his life, And I think I taught kids that I coach that if you're going to do something, you need to try to do it to the best of your ability. Don't go out there and halfway do something. Get out there and put your heart and soul in it, and if you fail, then you don't have any regret. That's the way I feel about living your life. I mean, if you're gonna do something, you got to do it with your heart.
Good. Thanks, Billy.